I'm Teacher Robin. Welcome to another live streaming class. If this is your first time to join the classes, let me explain how it works. Today, we're going to be talking about prefixes and suffixes in English. So, if you've never heard of what these are before, I'm going to explain it to you. Don't worry. I'm going to give you plenty of examples. And if you have any questions during the class, you can write your questions in the comments. And I'll be checking your comments as we go along. And at the end of the lesson, I'll ask you some questions so that we can practice what you've learned today. All right? So let's get started with prefixes. So maybe you've never heard of this before. So first, let's define it. What is a prefix? In English, a prefix is a group of letters that are added to the beginning of the word to make a new word. Okay, so a group of letters, you put them at the beginning of a word and it forms a completely new word. So let's look at some examples of the most common prefixes. All right, the first one is co. The prefix co means with. So let's see some examples with this prefix. We have co-worker and co-pilot. Co-worker, for example, is someone who you work with. So that's why we say co-worker. Let's look at a sentence. My co-workers and I have a great relationship. We like to go for a drink after work on Fridays. Another example with the prefix co, co-pilot. So this is someone who works with the pilot of an airplane. For example, the co-pilot took over when the pilot fell ill. Let's see another example of a prefix, the prefix D. So the prefix D means off, down, or away from something. For example, deflate or derail. So the word deflate means that you take the air out of something. For example, a balloon. The balloon's deflated after a few hours. Okay, another example with D, with the prefix D, is derail. So if you think of a train goes on the rail. So if a train derails, it means that it is removed from the rail. For example, the train was derailed in heavy snow. Okay, another example of a prefix, a common prefix, is pre. So this means before. For example, preview or prehistoric. So preview is when you watch something before the main event, kind of like a trailer. For example, you can preview the page before you print it. And prehistoric means before the start of history. For example, the Science Museum features prehistoric artifacts. Okay, I see many people are watching. Several people have said hello. Paul says hello from Jamaica. Okay, great to have people from all around the world watching our class. Again, if you have any questions or if you just want to say hello where you're joining us from, then feel free to do that in the comments. Let's look at another example of a prefix, non. So the prefix non means not. For example, non-fat or non-fiction. So non-fat is another way to say not fat, doesn't have any fat in it. For example, I buy non-fat yogurt because it's healthier. And non-fiction is a kind of literature, meaning not fiction, so it's true stories. For example, I love to read non-fiction books, especially biographies. Okay, so now that we have looked at some examples of prefixes, let's move on to suffixes. So this is basically the other end of the word. So a suffix is a group of letters added to the end of the word to make another word. So this the same kind of rules apply, except that the ending is added at the end instead of at the beginning. All right, so we have the suffix able or able. This depends on the word, but it has the same meaning, able to be. For example, reversible means that something can be reversed, or washable means that something can be washed. For example, my sweater is reversible. It's blue on one side and green on the other side. Make sure you bring washable pants for the trip. Okay? Another example of a suffix is ness. So the suffix ness is a state of being. For example, sadness is the state of being sad, and rudeness is the state of being rude to someone. For example, the sadness in her voice was obvious, or your rudeness in the meeting, was unacceptable. Another example of a suffix is ment. Ment is another way to say the condition of. So commitment is the condition of being committed to something, to commit to something. And punishment is the condition of being punished. For example, you need to show commitment to learning English by studying a little every day. And with punishment, the punishment for his crime was 2 years in prison. All right, let's look at one more example of a common suffix, which is less. The suffix less, so adding less to the end of the word, means without. Okay, so for example, tasteless means without taste, and careless means without care, without taking care of something. Okay, for example, the dessert that I ordered is tasteless. I'm going to complain to the waiter. I'm going to tell the waiter. Don't be so careless with your phone. You're going to break it. Okay, so now that we have looked at the differences between prefixes and suffixes, how we use them, and the most common ones in English, I want you to practice by writing in the comments, okay? So take some of the examples that I've just given you. Maybe you can think of even more, some that I haven't mentioned, and write some examples in the comments. So feel free to share your examples, and as you are doing that, let me tell you a bit more about all of the different things that we have to offer you here at Abbott English. So if you're joining this live streaming class, that is obviously one of them. We also have a complete course that is available on both web and mobile versions. So if you study with us, you have a complete course from beginners to business level. It has everything adapted to your needs. You have a short film, you have exercises to practice all of your skills, reading, writing, speaking, and listening. This is all featured in our course. And if you study on our app, you also have access to our live English feature, which posts new content every day where you can practice your English. So we have activities, we have articles, we have videos, all kinds of really great content, also adapted to your needs, your level, the kind of content that you're looking for. You can find that on Live English if you study with us on the app. You can also find us on all of the social media networks, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. We're updating those channels every day so you can find all kinds of new content. And you should also check out our blog, our ABBA journal, if you haven't done that already, because you can find articles about all kinds of different topics related to English, travel, business, anything you could possibly think of, grammar, explanation. So that is all available with us here at Abbott English. So let's move on to see who has asked a question or who has written an example. Okay, I have one. Wida says happiness and useless. Okay, great job. So again, the ness means the lack of something, or the state of something, sorry. So happiness is the state of being happy, and useless is the lack of something. So in this case, the lack of use. If something is useless, it means that you cannot use it. Okay, so very good examples, Wida. Thank you for participating. Let's see if there are any more. Okay, as people are writing their answers, let me just tell you about next week's class. We're going to be talking about climate change. So this is a really hot topic right now in the news, something that people are talking about all over the world, something that's very relevant. And so we want to give you the correct vocabulary so that you can have a discussion with someone about climate change. So this is very important. We want you to learn this. So join us same time next week for our class about climate change. And If you want to keep writing in the comments, feel free to do so, and I'll check your comments later on today. So I hope that this class on prefixes and suffixes has cleared up some of your doubts about this topic. If you have any questions, again, write them in the comments. I hope you can join us next week for our climate change class, and I hope that you have a great rest of your day. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!